We are going into our next story here, and this is an update in reference to Dr. Cornel West's campaign. And this involves Chris Hedges. This also involves some of the smears that he's been getting as well. Surprise, surprise, we knew this was going to happen. But first, I want to show you a clip of Dr. West on CNN. So he did go into CNN. He spoke to Jake Tapper, and a shout out to Neoliberal Tears for this, for doing the damn thing. Cornel is a wizard. Watch this and tell me Jake's long lost soul wasn't moved. Listen to this.
The problem is people who believe it's either the Democrats or the Republicans have left out serious discussion of mass incarceration, left out of what's been going on around the world, 800 military bases around the world. From the vantage point of the West Bank, our precious Palestinian brothers and sisters, what does it look like in terms of the bombs dropped by the U.S. government by either party? Same is true with working people in other parts of the world. This is a moral and a spiritual issue. It's not simply narrow strategic thinking of neoliberals who view the world in terms of either Republicans or Democrats. Brother Jake, we will never defeat fascism, which is on the march, by milquetoast neoliberalism. Neoliberalism will only be a caretaking postponement of the fascism. We got to get at the source of it. That's why I'm going straight into Trump country, my brother. I'm talking to some of my white brothers and sisters who are following the neo-fascist Pied Piper. I'm concerned about your suffering. Look another way. The words of Martin King. Let us embrace one another by accenting our best. That includes acknowledging those who right now are on the other side. We want realignment. We want what my dear brother Clifton West calls a paradigm shift in American politics. That's in part what this is about, my brother.
Let me just say something here. Did you notice that Dr. West said you're not going to beat fascism with neoliberalism? See, that's one of the differences that I would say. For Marianne still thinks that Joe Biden is not a fascist. The Democratic Party hasn't done fascist things to the American people. And I would say that's not true. I'd say that to anyone who had that same statement. But do you see the difference in the response? Marianne, I think, still believes that you can beat it with neoliberalism. But how are you going to do that when both parties are corporate? Let's go on.
Just a practical question. Where do the People's Party, where will you be on the ballot? Will you be on the ballot in Michigan? Will you be on the ballot in Wisconsin? I don't think the People's Party was on the ballot in all 50 states last time. Are you hoping to get on the ballot in every state or even just the battleground states?
We're trying to get on the ballot in every state, which means we've got to get the requisite signatures in each state. We are in process of ensuring to make sure we get on that ballot. As you know, People's Parties broke away from Brother Bernie's attempt in 2016. So we're very new at this in that regard. But most importantly, we just want to make sure that our fellow citizens get a chance to see what the best of America is about. The best of America and the best of any nation is about fighting for poor and working people, no matter what color, gender, sexual orientation.
Okay, so that's one of the clips there. And there's another one here. So for people who did have that question, I asked them that question recently as well. Like, how are you going to get on the ballot? Like that kind of thing. What's the strategy? What's the plan? The plan is to get on the ballot in every state, but hold that thought because there has been an update since I had that interview. But this is another clip I want to play as well from that interview.
Yes, I'm trying to push toward the finish line. Why? Because I want to reintroduce America to the best of itself. And it's fairly clear that Brother Trump, neo-fascist gangster, not the best. Brother Biden, neoliberal hypocrite, not the best. I want the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., Dorothy Day, Abraham Joshua Heschel, and Edward Said, and Chief Joseph, and Grace Lee Boggs, and Louise Marino. These are those fighting for poor and working people. Both parties stand in the way of the empowerment of poor and working people. Both parties tied Wall Street, militarism, Pentagon, tied to Silicon Valley. What about the 60% of precious Americans of all colors who are struggling every day and month to put food on the table and are hardly doing it, while the 1% is simply tied to their quests for the luxurious life? American democracy not just is at stake, the whole planet, Brother Jake. You know that, man, with fossil fuels. And look at the debt ceiling agreement. We can make a deal with Brother Manchin in terms of his pipeline that will do in not just working class people's spaces, but ecological collapse given what's going on the East Coast. But we can't make a deal with him in terms of voting rights in regard to the filibuster. That's Brother Biden. We need something better. Where's the best of the country?
Yeah.
Not just the working people here, but around the world. Because the militarism abroad is something that I'm deeply concerned about, be it in Latin America, be it in Africa, be it in the Middle East.
So I hear you, but these elections often do come down to a binary choice between the Democrat and the Republican.
And why is that? Why is that, Jake? Why does it usually just come down to two different options? Because we don't have a true democracy in this country. If we did, third party can't. Why do you even have to fight to get on the ballot? Who came up with this rule? Think about this, guys. Let's really think about this. Why do you have to collect signatures to get on a ballot? If you're running, you're running with this party, you should be able to be on there regardless. Why do you have to do that? Why? Part of the reason are the debates. And you're saying it comes down to two choices, Jake. But even when it comes down to those two choices, you're not even mentioning the fact that the Democratic Party, the DNC, won't even allow Marianne Williamson and RFK Jr. to be on the debate stage. So even in his logic of it coming down between two parties, it's not even just between the two parties. It comes down to who the corporate powers that be pick, who they select. The DNC selected Joe Biden. Even though he can barely walk, he's falling down. He doesn't know where he is half the time. It's obviously that there is serious issues going on with Joe Biden in reference to cognitive decline. And the DNC still said, he's our guy. In fact, they'd probably be happy that he's having issues so they can just convince him to sign off on whatever they want him to sign off on. Think about this, people. And then if Joe Biden wins and he doesn't make it the whole 4 years, which I doubt that he would, maybe he decides to retire after the first year, second term, and says, okay, Kamala, it's your go. Then you have Kamala Harris over foreign policy. Think about that. Let's continue. Oh, I think that's the end of that one there. Okay, so those two clips there I thought were really important. So shout out to Neoliberal Tears for that. But as you can imagine, people are already starting to smear Cornel West. And of course, MSNBC would be one of the outlets to do so. They are so desperate to save Joe Biden's weak ass that they went this far to say that Cornel West's presidential bid has right-wing DNA. And you know what's bad? A black guy wrote it. Look at this. Jahan Jones. You see what they do, right? Okay, they get one of your own to go against you. Listen to this. Leftist academic Cornel West launched his third-party presidential campaign the way any true progressive would, by promoting it on a podcast known to spread right-wing extremist conspiracy theories, hosted on a video platform popular among right-wing extremists just weeks after having praised Florida's right-wing extremist governor, Ron DeSantis. Let me stop there for just a second. Russell Brand is on YouTube and Rumble. But in this article, he makes it seem like Russell Brand is only on Rumble. And why is Russell Brand on Rumble? He used to just be on YouTube. He went on to Rumble because he was getting censored by YouTube. But you see what they're trying to do? The praising of Ron DeSantis. I'm going to show you that clip in just a second because they're exaggerating that. But it goes on to say, in his praise for a Florida Republican in a Wall Street Journal op-ed headline, DeSantis' revolutionary defense of the classics, West and a conservative co-author endorsed the governor's support for Florida high schoolers being able to qualify for scholarships by using scores from the classic learning test. First of all, it was not an endorsement. By the way, pay attention to this talking point, the endorse, because a lot of liberals are using this on Twitter right now. When you see those liberals use that on Twitter, make sure you take that clip that I have on Twitter where he answers that question, and you go ahead and tag them in that clip, because they're not actually willing to ask Dr. West, like I did, why he said what he said. They'd rather just smear him so that you stay in the two-party system and you continue to vote for the Democratic Party. That's what this is really about. So then, of course, he goes on to say, yes, this is the same DeSantis whose administration has been curbing lesson plans and banning books, yada, yada. He goes into all of that stuff. But this right here, this rhetoric, right-wing DNA, and saying he endorsed Ron DeSantis, this is BS, and Jahan Jones knows it. They didn't look any further into it. They just looked at that article, didn't ask any other questions, and misrepresenting the article as well. Now, it's not just MSNBC. Even The Nation, which I thought used to be good, they have fallen by the wayside, just like Democracy Now! Both of them suck now. Even The Nation is trying to tell Cornel West that he shouldn't even be running. Now, this is written by Joan. Listen to this. I said, who is Joan to make this decision? The Nation has run multiple hit pieces against Dr. West. What happened to this outlet? And here it is here. Cornel West should not be running for president. He doesn't see a third party playing a spoiler role to Democrats as bad, and that's inevitable. And this is by Joan Walsh. Joan Walsh, who was also a Hillary Clinton stan. She's the Karen of liberals. Okay? Because who are you, Joan? Let me make something clear. Who are you to say who should and should not be running for president? It's always one of them to come forward. Let me go. She probably got on her yoga pants and her freaking latte saying how she loves black people. She probably got a damn Black Lives Matter sticker outside her house on the window in her front lawn and shit. And here she goes to write an article. Cornel West should not be running for president. Joan reminds me of the type of liberals that they really love you. They're okay with black people as long as you do what they tell you to do. That's Joan. But this is what's happening here. You can look at the comments on this. It's not, the comments to Joan is not good. The comments to Joan is not good. And there's another one here from Do Dissidents. Their original headline was even more condescending. Guess they got some bad feedback. This was the original headline from The Nation. Cornel West has no business running for president. Who is this woman? No business. Get back in your place. You have no business running for president. This is how they do you when you don't move the way that they want you to move. They were totally fine with Cornel West before, right? Oh, Cornel West, academic, always great to hear from you. Great to interview you. Great to come on my show. Great talking to you, Dr. West, every time, until you move against the grain. Then they see you as the enemy. And that's exactly why I believe Bernie Sanders didn't want to run third party. But they still saw him as an enemy anyway. So I'm like, if they're still going to see you as an enemy, you might as well go all in. All in. Now, the Ron DeSantis one. Shout out to Chuck Noby because, or Modi, I don't know why I call you Noby, Chuck. Shout out to Chuck Modi for this because he kept it real. He found that clip. He said it's the 2% of the time I'd agree with DeSantis. 98% of the time he's a xenophobe and cowardly manipulator of culture wars. Dr. West via Sabrina defines classical education. So Chuck has a thread here, and this is the thing people don't want to see. People just want to point to that article and say, this is what Dr. West said, but they don't want to ask Dr. West why he said what he said. So here's what he said. Some people are, just let you know, some people are criticizing this, and I want to get your opinion or if you could explain to people what you meant by your statement here. In this article, it says DeSantis revolutionary defense of the classics. And so this was written by you and Jeremy Tate, May 2023. And it's this statement here where it says, that's why Mr. DeSantis' support of classic education has universal merit that transcends partisanship. Education based on values, logic, and discipline isn't Republican, it's timeless. So this is the phrase that everyone's referring to. I want to give you the opportunity to explain to people what you mean by that, because some people are criticizing this because of Ron DeSantis' recent actions in reference to education and censorship.
No, I appreciate you giving me that opportunity, because you see, as a jazz man, I try to be very honest and candid about particular issues that I work on and find overlap with folk who I have deep, deep disagreements with. And so Brother Jeremy Tate and I have been working on trying to make sure that classical education, by classical education, I mean from Socrates to Toni Morrison. I mean from Sophocles to James Baldwin. I'm talking about the most powerful formulations of what it means to be human. From Timbuktu to Oxford to Howard to Morehouse to the Sorbonne. Attempts of human beings to come to terms with all of the issues of death and dread and despair and disappointment. And I've seen the dumbing down of education. So what happens is, in those contexts, I do in fact find myself with some deeply conservative folk. And I try to tell them, hey, let's tell the truth now. Let's be honest. When Martin Luther King Jr. is in that Birmingham jail talking about Socrates, he is understanding the relation of Socrates, who also died of the hemlock after being in jail, to his situation. And so when it comes to DeSantis, that's the 2% of the time I would agree with him, because he indeed brought in the classic education test to accent that classical education. I have a deep commitment to classical education to make sure we sustain the highest levels. And it's always cut across cultures, cut across civilizations. It's African, it's indigenous peoples, it's Latin American, it's European, it's Asian, and so forth. 98% of the time, he's a xenophobe. He's a cowardly manipulator of various cultural wars. And he himself, he's Ivy League trained and acting like he come out of some proletarian context or something. I said, wait a minute, Brother DeSantis, why don't you be honest with yourself? But he's running for president. He learned much from Trump, and Trump has just helped gangsterize the whole terrain. It was already corrupt, but he's now gangsterized it in that way. And so DeSantis feels as if he has to play that role. And so 98% of the time, I have deep disagreements. Now, I must say the title, I think, was ridiculous. I didn't choose the title. That was the Wall Street Journal. Brother Jeremy called me up and said he didn't like the title either.
Okay, so that should be heard. That should be heard. I think that piece is important. So now you know why he said what he said. Most people aren't doing that, though. They're not even going to ask. They're just taking that article and they're using that in an attempt to smear Dr. West. Now, Chuck Modi went on to say, besides the bad faith critics who said Dr. West endorsed Ron DeSantis or his education plan, many in good faith took one article line out of context from his longtime support for CLT. Few cite his article last year citing FD and MLK after Howard dropped the classics. I think I actually covered this story when it happened. And there's a snippet of that piece there. And I remember Dr. West was not too happy about that. And that's Howard University decided to drop the classics. I know he wasn't happy. He goes on to say, why is Dr. Cornel West on the CLT board? He's a philosophy professor with deep love of classic education. He views classic education as critical to Black liberation. He wants to update egregious omissions. CLT list isn't nearly as white/male as critics assume. Isn't adding Equano, AJC, and Ida B. Wells good, with a question mark? And so he has a screenshot here of different people that are considered a part of the classic. In fact, we read Zora Hurston when I was in high school. I read Toni Morrison in college. I read Langston Hughes in high school. Actually, we read Langston Hughes in middle school too. Like, I read these people. you know? So Chuck goes on to say, some critics cite right-wingers on CLT board. The board has 86 members. CW, Cornel West, one of many Black PhDs on it. And CLT president is a Black woman, Dr. Angel Parham. Member Dr. Annika Prather also objected to Howard dropping the classic, citing influence on Huey, Thurgood, and Tony. And he has the piece here. So you see what I'm saying? Like, this is what people are leaving out, and they're doing that on purpose. Okay. The same gentleman who wrote that article saying it has right-wing DNA, the same way he could have done his research to write that damn article, he could have done his research to answer it with this. Chuck obviously did his research. So it goes on to say, Malcolm X and Huey Newton get less attention. Huey describes himself as functionally illiterate at 17 and started by reading Plato's Republic 8 or 9 times. A seminal experience jump-starting his political education to liberate Black people. So this is important. This is why someone like Dr. West will tie the classics to Black liberation. And all of the people, particularly the Black liberals who coming at him right now, they don't understand that. So that's something to think about. And then he goes on to say, there is a legit common ground found between many LW and RW academics, not on more military, more police, or using Title 42 to deport thousands, but simply on preserving classical education. In this case, as an optional CLT alternative to SAT, one tiny slice within DeSantis' education plan, that's all. But they don't want to show you that. They don't want to show you that part. Now, that's some of the smears that are happening right now. But there's also this issue with the People's Party. So for those of you who are new, don't know, I interviewed Nick Brana last year. I interviewed his accuser, Zeneb, last year on this show as well. I interviewed volunteers from the People Party on this show. There have been numerous interviews about the People's Party. When Dr. West was on, I also expressed that same concern in reference to ballot access accusations that have been placed against the leader of the People's Party, Nick Brana. And I also asked him, why not the Green Party? And I think it's important to hear what he said. I did ask, did the Green Party ask you to run for president? Listen to this. I don't even think I'll play the whole thing for this one, but you just need to hear the yes or the no. Oh, that's Twitter again. Maybe I'll do a refresh. Twitter does this sometimes with these videos. Issues too. There were allegations of the Green Party rigging their primary for Howie Hawkins. It seems that there is some type of a rift with the Howie Hawkins faction of that party. I am curious, did the Green Party reach out to you and ask you to run for president under the Green Party for 2024?
Oh, no, not at all. But they shouldn't have. I had a wonderful dialogue with Brother Howard. I've known him for many, many years when he ran before. And as I say, I just have a great respect for different comrades. You know what I mean? It gets me in trouble. You got a Revolutionary Communist Party, my dear brother Carl Dix. I've been to jail so many times we can't count. My sister Sarah Taylor. He's my brother and she's my sister.
And he goes on there to shout out other people that he's worked with or collaborated with. But the point that I'm trying to make is this. The Green Party apparently did not ask Cornel West to run, right? So there have been some consideration, some push for people saying like, Dr. West, maybe you should do this through the Green Party and not through the People's Party. And apparently that actually came up to Chris Hedges at the Workers' Strike Back event in New York City. So Shama Sawan has been launching Workers' Strike Back chapters across the country. I was at the one here in Boston. There was one recently in New York City, and Chris Hedges was there and Shama Sawan was there. And the question was presented, would you be willing to try to collaborate in some way, shape, or form with the Green Party, given the issues that People's Party has, and also given the ballot access issue, right? So this, I'm surprised, did not break the internet, but I have two clips because they're at two different angles. So let's do the first one first. Let's do this one first because this one has the text. And this is from Big Mad Crab, I think, captured this. But it says, breaking at workers' strike back event in Manhattan, New York. Chris Hedges tells Bree that he has set up a meeting between the Green Party and Cornel West. So listen to this. This one has the captions. So, and then Eric, I think the volume on this one is a little bit low. So I don't know if you want to go ahead and try to work with that a little. You may have already done it.
Professor Hedges, about this announcement that Cornel West is running. He's decided to run with the Movement for People's Party. I know Socialist Alternative, Workers' Strike Back has advocated for a new party, a new third party. There have been questions about why not run with the Green Party. MPP has been embroiled in a degree of controversy over the course of the last couple of years. And I wonder what you make strategically about of that particular choice and how the left should look at it.
Just off the record. I've been playing with my phone because I set up a meeting with Cornell and the Green Party for tomorrow morning because of the issues you just raised.
Okay, so he said he set up a meeting with Dr. West and the Green Party because of the issues that I've already told you about with the People's Party. But there's more. Wait for this piece.
Recommend a Green Party run in the alternative, or?
I'm recommending that the Green Party, that Cornell runs as the Green Party candidate.
Yes!
Woo! Yes! Yes!
So that's huge. That's huge. So that was Chris Hedges there saying that he's recommending that Dr. West run with the Green Party. I think you can run with multiple parties. Like, I'm not sure, how this would work. And by the way, nothing has been confirmed yet. I want to say that again, nothing has been confirmed yet. But it seems like he's trying to look towards a different option, maybe. Now, like I said, it could be two things happening at the same time. And Marco, thank you so much for pointing that out. You can be a candidate for multiple parties. Yeah, you can. So, but I think that we'll have to see what happens. I'll let him finish here, and then I'll show you the other clip because there's another one from a different angle.
Shama to run with him.
Yes! Yes, please do it.
Not a joke, by the way. But yeah, I share all your concerns, and just on the issue of ballot access, the People's Party Act doesn't have any. And having worked with Ralph in his campaigns, I saw all of the impediments, most of the impediments that he throws to make it impossible for a third party candidate.
Okay. That's one of the clips. And then there's another clip from Case Study QB, because Case Study QB was also there. Shout out to Case doing the damn thing. And this one is a different angle. How can I? Okay. Yeah, different angle. So here we go.
Is this off the record?
On the record.
I've been playing with my phone because I set up a meeting with Cornell and the Green Party for tomorrow morning because of the issues you just raised.
Great. You would recommend a Green Party run in the alternative, or?
I'm recommending that the Green Party, that Cornell runs as the Green Party candidate.
Yes!
Shama to run with him.
Yeah, I couldn't find a stream for this event. Thanks. Someone mentioned that in the chat. I didn't see a stream anywhere for this event, so I was looking for that.
Not a joke, by the way. But yeah, I share all your concerns, and just on the issue of ballot access, the People's Party app doesn't have any. And I, having worked with Ralph in his campaigns, I saw all the impediments most of the Democratic Party throws to make it impossible for a third party candidate from the left to run. And part of it was challenging his petitions, which were all legit, but they challenged them in court. They ran up over $1 million in legal fees that Ralph had to pay. So, I mean, just they have all sorts of mechanisms. But I share all of your concerns. I mean, and I think that centering, getting, Howie Hawkins, who I like very much. I mean, he ran not just as a Green Party candidate. He had other smaller parties, but he had it was also the candidate. And I would like to see Cornel do the same thing.
So that's important. So that's big news. I mean, that's a big update from when I saw you last time. So I think that's really important. So we'll have to stay tuned and see what happens from here. I, for one, definitely do not plan to vote for Howie Hawkins at all. At all. I don't plan to vote for Joe Biden. I don't plan to vote for anybody on the Republican side, Trump, DeSantis, any of those people. And I'll be very clear with you. I think Howie Hawkins needs to leave the Green Party. I think he needs to step down. I've been very vocal about that because of his position on the war with Ukraine and other positions as well. This goes all the way back to Russiagating. But could you imagine if Dr. West was a candidate on the Green Party? That could probably give the Green Party some much needed attention that they should have received a long time ago. So we'll have to stay tuned and pay attention and see what happens from here. But that's the big update today. That's the big update. Thank you, David. Cornel is a breath of fresh air after listening to Marianne. I look forward to seeing him get his message out to more people, especially the Trump crowd. Elvin, if you're not on the ballot, you are not allowed to debate. Apparently, people on the ballot can't debate. So there's that too. Dissenting opinion, go West, good people, and heal our nation. Thank you. Thank you, David. Right-wing DNA, spooky language, George Carlin. Thank you, dissenting opinion. Go bumbling Biden and bring our nation to heel. Will our eyes rise? Thank you. Keep your light shining, Sab and RBN. We need you. Thank you so much. Shout out to Schultze 100. Hello, just subscribed. I hear nothing but good things about this Sabby. Hopefully, we'll even hear some F-bombs and flat out profanity. I don't do that as often. But when I do, just know I'm pissed. And welcome. Shout out to Miss Sugar for becoming a Sabby member. Whoop, whoop. Shirley, ask RFK Jr. what he feels about Wes. I'm pro Cornel, but didn't put RFK on any kind of progressive, or don't put RFK on any kind of progressive pedestal. That's funny because I actually said in the last live stream that RFK Jr. is not progressive. It's really interesting. I did say that. Where am I here? Thank you, BW in Wisconsin. First time viewer learned via the Vanguard. That's interesting. Thank you and welcome. Thank you, Chris Deason. You're talking about Olay Sabby. No, I don't know what that's about. That's interesting. Thank you for the chat, Justin. Being a candidate in multiple parties is possible, but difficult in some states. It's not a cut or dry, you can or you can't. Every state has different rules. I'll be on with Nick tomorrow to talk about this. Yay, the panel. Awesome. I look forward to seeing that panel. Educating people over at the R's. Shout out to Hardlands Media. Says vote independent. What's up, Kit? Shout out to Chris. What a clip for In and Case to capture. Yeah, that was awesome, right? And thank you, Anthony. Coalition 2024 nominate both people for president /VP. Interesting. You guys come up with all kind of interesting ideas.